watching the Isaiah Factor Uncensored.
And welcome back to the second half hour, The Factor Uncensored. Thank you for hanging in there with us. We are switching gears now from the conflict in the Middle East to Austin and the THC ban, where Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick was very upset today after learning Governor Abbott vetoed the bill. Let's take a look.
What puzzled me was the last time I talked to the governor in the Capitol before session, he said, don't worry about the bill. He said, your bill is fine. That's what he told me in front of witnesses. In fact, he asked a couple of lawyers on my staff, he said, can you give me some answers I can give, because when I sign this, I need some answers to give. So what happened? Who convinced him? On his staff, from the outside? To kill Senate Bill 3? You know, and look, we'll work with the governor. We'll see what happens in the special session. But where has he been all session?
And our guests are here on The Factor Uncensored. Guys, you saw the video, the statement from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and his feelings about the THC ban being vetoed by the governor. First of all, your thoughts about that, State Representative Ron Reynolds.
Isaiah, he was mad, real smoking mad. This man was ready to fight. I was delighted to see it because I voted against that THC ban. I'm proud of Governor Abbott for standing up for veterans, for those small business owners, for our Texas economy that counts on these businesses. But more importantly, people who have gotten away from opioids. So I was delighted that Governor Abbott had the balls and the unmitigated gas to stand up finally to Lieutenant Governor Patrick and say no and to veto it. We will be back for a special session on July 21st, but I am so delighted that these businesses will be able to live to see another day.
And Thomas, you're one of those businesses out there, edibles.com, that you can find here in Texas. Your thoughts, is this a reprieve or a new lease on life when it comes to your business, only a break because there is a special session coming up?
I would probably lean more in the camp of a break. And I think ultimately, what Abbott did takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of respect for his constituents to really listen to the messages that were being sent. On our end, we have 8 different businesses that are independently operated and owned by these leaders who are now contributing to the economy, and they were about to see some of their top line disappear. And I think ultimately this is going to take some time to figure out. But I will say the version of SB 3 from the House had a lot of components that Governor Abbott referenced in his letter today. And so I don't think it's starting from scratch. I think there's a thoughtful framework that's been presented as an alternative to SB 3, which would become a great starting point. But I think with anything in policy, nothing is set in stone until it's inked as a deal. And until that day comes, we'll have to see what comes next.
And one of the things the governor said today, he wanted a bill that would become law that was legally sound in court. As an attorney, we'll get to you on that in just a moment. But first, I want to hear how your clients in the industry are reacting to this. Do they feel like there's hope now that there won't be a ban?
I think that there's a lot of hope. I think that there's a lot of excitement. And frankly, a lot of people are pretty surprised that Governor Abbott would split with his own party. Everyone I've talked to from the beginning of when I started representing people in this space supports regulation. Nobody wants the Wild West. Everybody wants to show that they are the people doing this the right way. And so to securely answer your question, I think most people are excited that that's the path we're going towards.
And Representative Reynolds, are we potentially looking at, if you guys go into this special session and this is passed as an all-right ban, are we looking at the death of a multi-billion-dollar industry here in Texas?
We would be. We will be looking at the death of a multi-billion-dollar business that provides 50,000 jobs. So this would drastically impact our Texas economy that has been robust, not solely, but largely because of this booming hemp THC industry. So absolutely, this would take a big hit. But more importantly, when I hear those stories from those veterans that have PTSD and have coping where they're able to function because of these products without getting hooked on opioids or drugs, this is a safe product. And I know many people that are using it for use, and even those who use it for recreation, they aren't getting high, they aren't getting stoned. So Lieutenant Governor Patrick is out of touch with Texans and ordinary people.
All right, we're going to take a break here, guys, and we'll be back with more Factor Uncensored with our guests, so don't go anywhere. And welcome back to the Factor Uncensored. We're continuing our conversation about the THC ban here in Texas that was put on hold by Governor Greg Abbott after he vetoed Senate Bill 3. Here's Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick.
One can only come to this conclusion, which surprises me. The governor of the state of Texas wants to legalize recreational marijuana in Texas. That's the headline, folks.
Quote, for those who are wondering why the governor was against this, he said he was looking for some legislation, a law that would be legally sound. So what problems did he point out that he had with SB 3 and why he did not sign it into law?
Well, he pointed out that I think the direct quote that was, this put Texas on a collision course with federal law, where federal law and Texas law would conflict, and people would have to decide which of these do I have to follow. Beyond that, there's a number of provisions in both our Constitution and other laws that says that state law can't prohibit interstate commerce in certain ways. And further beyond that, I mean, allowing millions or thousands of Texans to invest so much of their time, their savings, and their effort into a business that is legal, and then just pulling out the rug from under them, it'd be devastating to so many families, and they just deserve and they're entitled to due process before that happens.
And Representative Reynolds, when you guys go back to the special session, what will you be looking for? Will you vote for any form of THC ban or any type of stronger regulation when it comes to the ban? But right now they're looking at total ban, right?
I'm against a total ban at any cost. What I'm for is regulation, making sure that you don't sell to minors under 21, making sure that you don't have these right next to schools. So I am for regulation. And I think that that is the consensus. What I am against, as an overwhelming majority of Texans are, is a outright ban. That's what Lieutenant Governor Patrick wants. He wants a ban. We don't need a ban. We need regulation. We need to make sure that we keep it legal and have a mechanism so it's safe and we don't have shady people operating and selling to minors. But an outright ban, what happened to Republicans being about free enterprise and liberty? That goes against the principles of free enterprise and liberty.
Thomas, do you foresee a black market if there is a ban here in the state of Texas, where those who may be criminals or just don't care will continue to sell it, and then there will be no regulation?
Look, we have learned from the cannabis industry, from the hemp industry, outright bans don't reduce any of the demand from consumers. Consumers will find a way, and they will be forced to use alternative measures, whether it's going across the border to New Mexico, which has got an open recreational market. I think there's no way in any thoughtful regulation where a ban is a good solution. You essentially penalize the good actors and create more space for the bad actors who will run unchecked. The real consumer health threat comes, if you think there's a consumer health threat today, which there is, and I'm fully in alignment there, as soon as you take all of that, any type of policy away from it, that black market is a gift to them. It's a gift to illegal operators. It's a gift to cartels. It's a gift to everybody who has been fighting against thoughtful policy in this space and successfully done so for the last decade. It would be detrimental beyond a scale that we have seen in cannabis. This is reefer madness all over again.
And court, for those who testified, we saw a lot of people come forward saying, look, this is not a good thing. It is dangerous to children. It could be dangerous to adults. Your thoughts on those who testified against THC, and do you think it was genuine testimony?
I can't say whether or not it's genuine testimony. I can say that each individual person that testified has their own story, of course. And I wouldn't dare to say that those are not valid stories and valid concerns. But the issue that we need to face, and the issue that Governor Abbott obviously faced, is that the overwhelming majority of Texas, his constituents, the voters, the citizens, are not in support of SB 3. And so it's a tough job that Governor Abbott is in, but he has to do what is best for Texans, not is best for a couple people that testified. And I think I'm very happy, and I think speak for a lot of people that are very happy he had the courage to do so.
And Ron, Representative Reynolds, what do you think the lieutenant governor's motivation is here? Is it what we've heard from people, individuals saying this is dangerous, or is there something else?
I think it could be both. I can't read what's in his head, but the overwhelming majority, he sees the polls. He knows where Texans are. He understands that businesses, veterans, and most Texans say this is the wrong course. Some speculate that, I mean, first of all, you got to know Lieutenant Governor Patrick is ultra Christian conservative. He doesn't want casino gambling in Texas. He's the main reason why we don't have that. So Lieutenant Governor Patrick is far right extreme. And so his fundamental beliefs may be that this is a gateway drug. And he just said, accused Governor Abbott of legalizing marijuana in Texas, which is false.
All right, and Thomas, to wrap us up, for those who are wondering, you know, they hear THC, they hear Delta 9, Delta 8, hemp, all of that. What's the difference between all of those, and are they all sold here in the state of Texas?
THC is a molecule, regardless of whether it comes from cannabis or hemp. It's still just a molecule. Mm-hmm. And I think what we have done in terms of the Farm Bill is we've assigned an arbitrary number to separate the distinction of the same plant. And, you know, essentially, I think part of what is maybe missing with Lieutenant Dan's view on this is a philosophical and fundamental understanding of the bifurcation of how regulations can work. And I have a lot of faith after seeing the way that Abbott stood up in this moment to find that right path. And I think that's a shining example that a lot of America is watching.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have to see what happens during this special session, and we may be calling you all back, so be on standby. Thank you all for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored.